много лет существовал официальный туристический маршрут из
The official tourist route from the left Tolga through the Toguza Glacier to the upper Chilik has existed for many years. Not so difficult, but under a special category. That is, not possible to follow without special gear. I covered it several times myself. So I was very surprised to read that in 1910 the expedition led by Dmitriev, a glaciologist, went along this route on horseback. Along the way, the expedition was assisted by hunters from the Toguza clan living in the upper Chilik streams. In fact, the glacier was named in their honor.
Когда мы сейчас смотрим, как альпинисты карабкаются по...
Today, watching climbers ascending glaciers, it seems that it's impossible to ride a horse there. Yet if now there are climbers and mountaineers capable of passing where a common, untrained person wouldn't be able to, then for sure before there were horse riding masters who could make such difficult horse trips. Perhaps they cut through the ice here and there, covered horse hooves with felt, expanded goat trails. This is the route I'm talking about. Here is Almaty, and this is Talga, the Ile Alatau National Park. This is the left Talga River, the Ile Alatau. This is the Talga mountain plexus. The Chilik River originates exactly here, and then it circles around the entire Trenzile Alatau. The Kolsai Kolderi National Park is located on the Katman Ridge. The Dmitriev Glacier is 6 kilometers long, although recently it has been shrinking at the rate of about 1% per year. It has been snowing for 2 days already. Even in midsummer, when the sun scorches pastures in the steppes, alpine meadows are lush with bright and juicy plants. Edelweiss is a symbol of mountains and perseverance in achieving the goal. There is a legend that one proud girl rejected the love of a young man until he climbed to the top of the mountain and got this mountain flower. The legend is ancient. Nowadays, both the girl and the young man would get a fine for picking this red-listed plant. And this here is the golden root, or Rhodiola rosea. At the altitude of 3,000 meters, at any moment the alpine idyll can unexpectedly turn into a mini-apocalypse. Even in the middle of summer, there can be heavy snow that will break your tents, or say dense fog can come down, preventing you from seeing a tent just a couple of meters away. In such weather, the best thing to do is getting inside a warm sleeping bag and having a good nap. The sun usually appears as unexpectedly as it disappears. After a couple of hours, there is no trace of snow left, the fog has dissipated, and the alpine meadows are once again radiating all the colors of the rainbow. At present, the upper Chilik reaches seem deserted, but judging by the old burial sites, humans have been living here since antiquity. Merging the Jangarik, southeast Talgar and southern Issyk rivers form the Chilik River. Once there was a lake at their confluence, but they had drained it due to the threat of mudslides. Previously, many yak breeders used to live in the Saz village. A crop duster would fly over here once a week. Geographers had laid the border between the Transilea and Kungay-Alatau mountain ranges along the Chilik River. The state border between Kyrgyzstan and Kazakhstan runs along the main watershed of the Kungay Ridge. It's easy to get confused in terms. In Turkic, the word Kungay means the south-facing side of the mountain. Yet, looking at the Kungay-Alatau from the Chilik side, we will see not the southern but the northern macro slope of the ridge. The extensive patches of coniferous woods point to that. Tian Shan spruce grows well only on the northern slopes, as they accumulate more snow and the soil contains a lot of moisture. On the southern slopes, the mountain sun melts the snow even in the middle of winter. The Chilik receives left and right bank tributaries and gradually turns into a stormy mountain river. It follows the valley, which in some places expands up to 2 to 3 kilometers and in some places shrinks into a tight canyon. The local old-timers still remember the time when large herds of argali were grazing around. Today, only several dozens of them have survived only in one place, the most inaccessible corner of the Kungay-Alatau, in the conservation area of the Kolsai-Kolderi National Park. A hiking trail stretches along the Chilik. At times, it goes down to the water and then ascends the mountain slope. On the narrow path, you can encounter an entire wild boar family or even a bear. Or even see a brood of wolves enjoying themselves on the mountain crest. There are so many groundhogs around that you simply stop paying any attention to them. The animal world of the Upper Chilik is rich and diverse. The entire river bank is covered with juniper thickets. Some bushes are several meters high. You can drive to the Aktas natural boundary by car through the village of Zhenishke along the corresponding tourist route. Kumai, or Himalayan vulture, is included in the red list of Kazakhstan. In mountain ecosystems, these scavengers play an important role of sanitation workers. The road runs along the Transilea-Alatau Plateau. A beautiful view of the Kungay-Alatau and Chilik River opens up from its top. Aktas translates from Kazakh as the white rock. The sharp white rock protrusion is noticeable from afar. The beauty of local landscapes attracts hiking, equestrian as well as car tourists here. From October to early May, the water in the Chilik is clear, and during the period of rapid glacier melting, it acquires the crimsicle color. Some of its tributaries, like the Great Urukti, filter their water in higher altitude lakes, and their water is transparent too. Trout goes into tributaries in summer and descends into the main river channel in winter. Sea buckthorn is very healthy, although it's not ripe yet. There are buggies over there, look. Let's film them. SUV traveling to beautiful natural locations on four-wheelers, buggies and motorcycles has been rapidly gaining popularity recently. Familiar faces. We have just driven over the pass and went down that gorge. The brakes on the three of our buggies got overheated and we almost lost the brakes. This is our old friend Maxim Levitin. We are constantly bumping into him in the most out-of-the-way corners of the country. It appears we aren't intentionally walking along the same paths. There should be paths everywhere, as they do it in the parks in Western countries, and tourists have to strictly follow them. Getting off the track might lead to a huge fine. Driving off to the restricted area might cost you $1,000, $2,000 or $3,000. This is why I believe the road to Lake Kayindi should be asphalted. There are dozens of illegal roads there now. To get the locals on board, I think the majority of the fees collected should remain with the local communities and local akimats. Then they will truly treat these lakes and tourist sites as their breadwinners. The law allows the movement along public roads on any type of vehicles without restrictions. Yet special rules are in effect in specially protected natural areas. Firstly, one has to pay a fee for entering the national park. Secondly, one can only drive along public roads or approved tourist routes, as well as set up tent camps and make fires only in specially designated places.
Я хотел спросить, Даке, вот твое отношение к езде.
Dake, I have a question for you. What do you think about off-road driving of SUVs in specially protected areas? It's totally unacceptable. You see, it's very easy destroying this soil here, and it takes about 3 years for it to recover. People have to get more responsible. There are roads. Why not using them? There are organized camping sites, and they should be the only places where tourists should be allowed to stay. We are saying goodbye to the rally participants and heading to the village of Sate. We are in the Chilik Valley. The Kungay Alatau is on the left and the Transilaire Alatau is on the right. The Chilik is in the middle. The village of Sati is located at the confluence of the same name river with the main Chilik body. After several nights in the tent, it's nice to spend a day in the comfort of guest house. We decide to explore the options. It appears we were on the right track. This is the guest house we need. How much is it per night? 8,000 tenge per person. Is this only accommodation? No, the rate includes meals. All inclusive. With breakfast and dinner, it is 8,000 tenge. With 3 meals, it will be 10,000 tenge. We have been cooperating with the Kolsai Kolderi Park for quite some time. People come here to enjoy the local nature. We are always reminding our guests to keep it clean and not to leave garbage behind. The park staff are also watching out for it. We are urging our clients to treat the nature with respect so as to preserve it for our children. Everyone must love and care for his or her native land. Let's appreciate what we have.
Жақсы табиғатта өмір сүргенге не жетсін деп ойлаймын. Сол үшін барды бағалайық.
Baljan, look, another guest house. Hello. Here the daily rate for accommodation with 3 meals is 12,000 tenge. Bed and breakfast is 10,000 tenge. These willing can order a sauna. How many years have you been engaged in tourism business? About 6 years. How did you get involved? Did you build your guest house right away? No, we started with our own house. Azamat Mukamedjanov from Outfitter KZ had introduced us to foreign tourists and got us in the system. A female guest from England once came with them. She was from the Lonely Planet. She advertised us and recommended us for the Central Asia guide. This is how we gained popularity. Foreign tourists started coming on their own based on the guide. Mirza is one of the tourism business pioneers in the Aul. His family has been receiving tourists for over 20 years. They have triple and double rooms.
Біздің сапа аулы осы туризм басталғалы бері.
The well-being of the Aul residents has noticeably improved thanks to tourism. Initially, 6 to 7 families got engaged. At present, more than 200 families are receiving tourists.
Кіріс қабылдағаннан кейін оған кірісі бар.
Mirza is likewise an experienced gardener. He is growing several apple varieties. In the summer heat, it is especially nice to relax in a shady orchard.
Тек қана ол қонақ үй күтіп, жасап отырып, турист қабылдайтын адам емес, бізде.
Our whole village is involved in tourism business. Even children starting from the 4th, 5th grades. Some rent out horses, some milk cows. Others make kumis, bake bread, or produce other goods. We are all making good money. In the Aul, 100 UAZ SUVs operate as taxis taking tourists around. This is their source of income. Like our houses, cars, horses and livestock. All residents had learned to do business, raised the living standards, set up bathrooms, internet. Each year the quality of service is improving. Everybody is doing tourism. Some village residents are engaged in beekeeping. For Mirza, his several beehives are more of a hobby than a serious business. If it wasn't for the national park, there would be no tourism at all. Because the park preserves the environment. Thanks to it, animals such as morals and snow leopards have grown in numbers. Recently, there have been heated debates over the construction of a coated road to Lake Kaindi.
Сапа ауылының осы Көлсай көлдері ұлттық паркының администраторы болсын.
We have requested the authorities and the Ministry of Ecology of Kazakhstan to refuse the construction of the road to Kayindi.
Қазақстан табиғат қорғау министерствосынан өтініп сұрайтынымыз.
Otherwise, so many people will be left without income because today they're earning by providing transportation services.
Жанұясын бағып отыр, олар ақшасыз қалады бір.
Within the framework of the project devoted to the sustainable management of globally significant ecosystems, a seminar will take place in the park's office today. The seminar will touch upon tourism development issues of interest to us. The park is divided into 4 zones. The conservation zone of 67,000 hectares or 42% of the total park's area, the ecological stabilization zone of 16,715 hectares, the tourist and recreational activity zone of 6,720 hectares, and the zone of limited economic activity of 70,000 hectares. We have 7 tourist routes. Of these, the ones to Qazaq and Kayindi lakes are currently in demand. 99% of tourists want to go there. Based on the concept of recreational capacity, after we reach the capacity limit, we will divert our guests to other routes.
В рамках проекта также мы разрабатывали.
As part of the project, we have developed the Eco-Tourism Development Strategy. It includes the corresponding action plan and management plan. The management plan contains designated sections devoted to different lines of action like conservation measures, ecotourism, and environmental education.
Туризм, это экопросвещение.
And we know that the world is on fire and humanity is in crisis. And UNDP is to serve to countries and people. And when we see that this big crisis, climate change, inequality, biodiversity extinction, earthquakes, many things, we look for examples to feel powerful and create some new ideas. And today when we visited the place for the car parcel, snow leopard, it is very good to feel that despite all these crises, we have snow leopard living in peace in Kazakhstan.
Today we will take part in the inspection of photo traps. We have just crossed from the recreational to the conservation zone and immediately encountered dozens of trails. Primarily, it's Asiatic ibexes, roe deer and morals. They usually install photo traps on the trails running along mountain ridges, but sometimes impassable rocks block the way and there is no other way around them than by steep pathways. These are the tracks of an Asiatic ibex. A photo trap battery is good for 6 months or even more. We have developed a special monitoring program for the Qazaq National Park. The science unit will process all the collected data and enter it in the database. The researchers are collecting information about the animals which use the path in different seasons of the year. The UNDP has given us 30 photo traps, a drone, a car and binoculars. Turkestan Red Pika is not that significant of a video trophy, but it is no less interesting for nature lovers and scientists. During the day, morals hide in coniferous forests and at night leave them to graze in alpine meadows. Siberian ibexes prefer rocky areas where it's more convenient to escape predators. animals are all over the place, in the foothills, in the forest, and above the forest belt. For a wolf, an adult male boar is a risky prey, but a young piglet or pigling will do. Turkestan lynx is included in the red list of Kazakhstan, although here it is quite common. The Tian Shan white-clawed bear is another red-listed animal. Conservation efforts have allowed expanding its local population. Snow leopard is the lord of mountain peaks, collecting its bloody tribute from all the high-altitude inhabitants. Yet alpine ibexes constitute the basis of its diet. Even steep rocks cannot save them from the slick cat. One male requires an individual hunting plot of about 25,000 hectares with a stable ibex population.
Really, it is fantastic area, and we see lots of animals that's really hard to see, and it shows how Kazakhstan nature and biodiversity is important, and we are very grateful for the people working for that, and thanks to the rangers, and I hope that we will be able to protect all these biodiversity for future and for future generation.
Вот эти вот ямы.
The animals ate out these pits, roe deer, ibexes and morels, because there is a lot of salt here. It's a natural alkali soil site. During the day, ibexes hide in the rocks, and it's possible to see them only at dawn and sunset. Where are they? Look straight at the peak. They are moving up to the peak. 1, 2, 3, 4, 15 altogether. Look at these ibexes grazing peacefully. Watching alpine ibexes moving over vertical rocks, it appears a kind of miracle. Their coordination of movement and courage while jumping from one sheer rock onto another is merely bewildering. The way to Lake Kayindi is a whole adventure by itself and deserves a special mention. When we interviewed local residents, many were against the construction of a coated road to Kayindi. What does modern ecology say about it? The first thing that we need to take into account is that Lake Kayindi is an extremely popular tourist site, and there is a designated road up to the lake. It is necessary to identify a special place close, say, to the entrance zone or the checkpoint, and build the asphalted road only up to this place. It would be convenient for tourists and cause less harm to the environment. All cars then will have to follow this road without driving off of it. Today there are so many spontaneous roads because the rain destroys them and drivers always choose a new route. With more and more off-road vehicles, auto tourism in natural areas is becoming increasingly popular, and thus the landscape load is growing as well. We have a law which prohibits movement on cars, ATVs, motorcycles and motorboats inside specially protected natural areas, outside public roads and approved routes. yet some people want to drive wherever they can. Without a good reason, this cannot be allowed.
А какой штраф, если поедет?
What is the fine for driving outside the designated road? It's an administrative offense, but the fine is very small, only about 2 monthly calculation indexes. They just pay it and go. There are also warnings. At the famous Lake Kaindin guest yurts, you can enjoy a delicious and inexpensive meal. The calculated recreational load on Kaindi and Kosai lakes is 60,000 visitors per year. Not so much compared to the famous national parks such as the Grand Canyon, annually receiving up to 5 million visitors. However, the animal world does not suffer there, because the width of the recreational area is often equal to the width of the road, with parking lots and observation platforms. If people do not go beyond the limits of a small recreation zone and watch the wildlife from observation decks using binoculars and field glasses, then it's not so important how many cars will drive along the coated road. Anastasia Velichko is an experienced guide and tourism teacher. Anastasia, you probably heard about the ongoing discussion concerning the construction of an asphalt road to Kaindi. What is your opinion regarding the issue? You know, the matter is quite ambiguous. On the one hand, the current road is unsafe. Considering the growing tourist flow, and I have been working in this area for many years, I see that it is becoming more difficult to bypass dangerous areas. On the other hand, if they build a good road, then most likely the flow of tourists will get even bigger. The question is whether this area will be able to cope with such a load. There are already too many people, and today is a weekday. On weekends, there is no room to swing a cat. Let's continue our journey along the Chilik River. We are leaving the national park behind towards its lower streams. The raft service camp is very popular among tourists. For several thousand tenge, you can experience unusual emotions and feel like a real hero. Although security is a priority and there is practically no real risk. The idea came to me a long time ago. I started doing this in 1996. I really liked it. I saw that everybody who came here loved the emotions he or she got. It is a team type of recreation. Socializing is a big part of it. Family, close friends and total strangers can ride together and then become good friends. The majority always come back to the river. I believe these emotions are valuable, and this is why I established the company, to give everybody a chance to experience rafting. Sergey, on the way here, after passing the village of Chilik, we crossed a bridge and the sign on it said Chilik River, yet there was no river under it. What happened to the river and why we see it here but not there? Upstream from us, there is the Bartogue Reservoir. All the water in the river downstream was bought out by farmers for irrigation. That is, the reservoir is accumulating all the water from the river. Most of the irrigated land is to our left, towards Almaty. The water gets transported via the big Almaty Canal and gets withdrawn, so none of it reaches the village of Masak. The big Almaty Canal was built in the 80s to irrigate the fields in the Transilea Alatau foothills. It stretches from Chilik to Almaty for about 120 kilometers. Our journey along the Chilik River can be considered completed, but on the way back we decided to check out the cornfields and find out how farmers have been coping with the drought which has been going on for 2 years already.
26 апреля мы уже засеяли.
We moved into the fields on April the 26th. As we had to water the fields for the first time 40 days after planting. That is, we were supposed to start irrigating on June the 6th. Altogether, 50 hectares in 10 days. But they gave us water only on June the 24th. That is, with a delay of 20 days. Yes, so we didn't water the fields on time. The heat was terrible, 40 degrees. Now, no matter how hard you water it, it will not give good crop. Of the 50 hectares under corn that Maydin had planted, 20 hectares will not produce any yield. The low water cycle is a very serious issue. Scientists do not predict an increase in water flow in the coming years, yet the water demand will definitely grow every year. This way or another, we will have to learn to use the water that nature gives us more wisely. Our journey along the Chilik River has once again demonstrated that each river is a single living organism. All its parts are connected by millions of invisible threads. And humans constitute a very important part of this organism as well. Mountain forests increase the catchment area. One of the main objectives of national parks is to preserve these forests together with their biodiversity. Tourism should generate financial resources for nature conservation and satisfy the vital needs of local residents. As to water users, they should treat water with the highest respect and protect this most valuable natural resource. Watch our program in social networks and the Qazaq TV's YouTube channel.